Kim-Mai Cutler.
Hi, my name is Kim-Mai Cutler. My family's been here for many, many decades. I actually came here from like 90 minutes away to just give this public comment. I want to talk about the phrase quality of life, which in the Bay Area is often invoked against height density. But quality of life is also about planning for capacity and for infrastructure so your extended family and future generations can live near you, especially in times of need. I want to tell two contrasting stories of my grandmothers who passed away in the last 10 years. On my mother's side, they came to this country when much of the housing stock in this city was 20 years old or less. It was newly built by developers. Most of the housing that people live in here was built by developers, and it was largely, accessible at the time. So my mom and her sisters were able to access housing and take care of my grandmother as she aged, and she also helped raise me every day after school. And when she passed away, we were able to take shifts watching over her. But my other grandmother wanted to be, on her own in a large, sprawling house, and one day several years ago, she stopped responding to my uncle's calls. And by the time we found her, it was too late. She'd fallen. She'd probably been on the floor for several days. And she spent much of the last decade of her life confused about where she was, what year it was, or who she was with. And, that was from the previous generation. Today, when I look at many of my friends I went to Kennedy Junior High and Monte Vista High School with, even if they've done everything right in honoring their parents' sacrifices and hard work, there's nowhere for them to live. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine who also went to Kennedy and Monte Vista came to visit me. She's finishing her PhD in cancer biology at UPenn. Her partner is a dual MD PhD and is starting residency. They want to come back here, but there's nowhere to live. You can't really afford much on a postdoc and residency salary. And worst of all, her father had a stroke a year ago. So while many people here think that you're protecting your quality of life in the short term by talking about 75 or 85-foot-story buildings, you actually may be destroying your quality of life in the long run. So I want to ask you, if you've worked really hard to come to this country, if you're an immigrant, if you've sacrificed a ton to get a house, pay off your mortgage, achieve the American dream, send your kids to the very good public schools here, and then they actually do it, and they get the grades, and they go to the good schools, and at the end of it all, they have to leave the region, and you'll never get to see your grandkids. What was the point of it all, and what was it all for? This community stopped building any significant amount of housing in the 70s just as Apple was founded. And so, by the way, I want to remind people that we're talking about, 200 or 600 units, in a city that houses the world's most valuable company and which just opened a 14,000-person campus less than 2 miles away. And when you don't build housing, people have to commute in farther and farther away, and that adds to traffic. And it's also contributing to displacement of working class and communities of color in the rest of the Bay Area. So I encourage the people in this room to think big about housing. Think really big about it. Don't let your quality of life be like my other grandmothers, who we got too late to save because we were too far away.
Thank you.